How many times do you have to prove yourself before you finally believe you're enough? Another achievement, another compliment, another person chooses you. And somehow, it's still not enough. So you work harder, love harder, become better. But the feeling never changes. Why? What if you've spent your whole life trying to earn something that was never supposed to be earned? That's what we're about to uncover. Welcome to the inner room. Let's go deeper. Someone leaves, and somehow it doesn't just feel like you lost them. It feels like you lost a part of your value. Someone criticizes you, and you don't just hear their words. You hear proof that you're not enough. Someone chooses someone else, and suddenly your mind puts you on trial. Maybe I wasn't interesting enough, pretty enough, successful enough, lovable enough. Have you ever noticed how quickly one moment turns into a judgment about who you are? Why does one rejection feel powerful enough to make you question your entire worth? Because maybe you've been measuring your value the wrong way. Maybe without realizing it, you've spent years believing that your worth had to be earned. Earned through achievement, through love, through being needed, through making as few mistakes as possible. The cruelest part is that no matter how much you achieve, how much you're loved, or how hard you try, the question never changes. Am I enough now? Nobody is born believing they're not enough. That's something we learn, slowly, without even noticing. Sometimes love felt conditional. Sometimes you were praised only when you succeeded. Sometimes being accepted meant becoming who other people wanted instead of who you were. Little by little, you learned, if I do more, I'm worth more. If I fail, I'm worth less. Psychologist Carl Rogers called this conditions of worth, the belief that you deserve love only after becoming someone else. So instead of asking, who am I? You spend your life asking, who do I need to become to finally deserve love, respect, acceptance? And that's why nothing ever feels enough, because you're trying to earn something that was never supposed to be earned. But here's the question that changes everything. Who taught you that your worth had to be earned in the first place? Maybe you've noticed something. No matter how much you improve, your standards improve faster. The person you wanted to become quickly becomes the person you're expected to be. And suddenly, what once felt impossible feels ordinary. Then, the chase begins again. Psychologist Tory Higgins described something remarkably similar. He believed we don't compare ourselves to other people as much as we compare ourselves to an ideal version inside our own minds. The problem is that version never stops changing. Every time you get closer, it moves a little further away. So you don't celebrate, you adjust. You don't feel proud, you raise the standard. You don't stop, because stopping feels like falling behind. And that's how people spend years chasing a version of themselves that never actually arrives. Not because they're failing, but because they're chasing perfection instead of enough. The hardest part is that after a while, you stop asking, am I enough? You start assuming, I'm not. And once that belief becomes your identity, you'll find evidence for it everywhere. Every mistake, every rejection, every comparison feels like proof. Not because it's true, but because it's the story you've been telling yourself for years. But if that story was learned, can it be rewritten? The good news isn't that you'll wake up tomorrow feeling enough. That's not how change works. Real change begins the moment you stop asking, what do I need to achieve to deserve my worth? And start asking, who convinced me that I had to earn it? Psychologist Kristen Neff spent years studying self-compassion. She discovered that people who constantly criticize themselves don't become stronger. They become more afraid to fail, more afraid to try, more afraid of never being enough. Because every mistake doesn't feel like something they did. It feels like proof of who they are. But the moment your worth stops depending on your performance, something changes. Success becomes something you can enjoy instead of something you desperately need. Failure becomes something you can learn from instead of something that defines you. For the first time, your life stops becoming an endless audition. You stop trying to earn the right to exist. You simply begin to live. The question was never, are you enough? The real question was, who made you believe you weren't? The next time you catch yourself thinking, I'm not enough, don't argue with the thought. Ask it one question. Compared to what? Compared to whose standard? Compared to whose voice? Because sometimes the voice calling you not enough isn't your own. It's just the one you've been listening to for years. This is the work of the inner room, not to tell you who you should become, but to help you question the stories you've believed about who you already are. If this made you stop and think, subscribe, and answer this in the comments. When was the first time you remember feeling like you weren't enough? Because sometimes finding the beginning is the first step to changing the ending. I'll see you in the next room.